We go on now to the minority report, and the chair recognizes Representative Holly for the minority report. Gentlemen, suspend. All right, this House will come to order. House will come to order. We have a minority report in chairman's time. They're entitled to your respect. Gentlemen may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Something as I sat here and I remembered, actually I have to even say this because I've never spoken to a bill from the well before. I'm just thankful to God for allowing for me to be here in this place. I used to work within walking distance down that way for judges, included Judge Kimberly Warden, who I know is looking down from heaven right now. And I'm just happy I'm be here, and hopefully I can make you proud. I come to you today, I rise to ask you to join me in voting no for this bill. Much to like my colleague from the 35th came here and I'm able to speak about how it was so important for us to look at law-abiding citizens. But then at the same breath said that those same law-abiding citizens would find it too cumbersome to go before a constitutional officer in a probate court and get an approval through a permit. We look at line 68 of the bill, and it tries its best to define lawful weapons carrier. But no matter how you define it, there are only just carriers. Just as there are only citizens and not law-abiding citizens, we're just citizens. Jails all across Georgia are filled with folks who thought they were law-abiding citizens until they were not. We all tell ourselves that we're going to obey each law until someone we love gets harmed. Maybe a daughter of yours, maybe a niece, something happens to them. And then all of a sudden, you just might snap. You might do something that's outside of what the law will allow. Then all bets are off. You know, when I was writing those domestic violence warrants, the little pink warrants, I always bear in mind the fact that just with that pen, the ability to enforce that law is necessary just to defend the lives of those not only who were at the hands of those who are violent, but also those who are going to be responding to that violence, the ones who are going to protect us. And the Georgia Commission on Family Violence reports that a whopping 84% of the family-related deaths this year come at the hands of someone who was holding a gun. Does that sit with us right now? 84%. Literally, we're looking at the fact that when it comes to law abiding, it's what we all hope for. But each of us has the right to either choose, yes, we're going to do right, or choose against it. However, those Americans who are dealing with severe stress, very deep pains for which they have sought help or maybe have not sought help, making the right choice is not so clearly black and white as it may be for the lawmakers in this room. Ask any prosecutor will tell you the criminal offenses in the Georgia Code describe acts which a person's culpability to commit that crime must be determined in order for those charges to stick. A person's mindset, along with the review of the circumstances leading up to their actions, can determine the extent of the danger imposed on themselves or others. Now, yes, much has been discussed this legislative session in the way of mental health, from counseling to special living facilities to peer groups that help folks who are unfortunately trauma bonding in their time of anguish. And these are really great benefits. I don't make any effort here to diminish them because they do have value. But when folks with severe mental issues and deeply painful experiences can just go drive down to their local gun shop, heck, they can even go online right now and be able to purchase a gun without so much as telling a Georgia licensed physician or counselor for a screening or to ask permission to help keep other Americans safe, then won't it be our legislature who has failed them? We're putting our own communities at risk. Now please, I don't want you to get it twisted. I have a very, very healthy appreciation for our Second Amendment rights. I mean, we could talk days upon days between Browning and Gatling, and I even like howitzers, and I know that's not even a gun. But the problem still is that we still have a very, very precarious situation that we're leaving our law enforcement officers in. The men and women that I used to have to take in their warrants, from local folks to even the GBI. And we're not even just talking about the measures to keep folks safe with a permit. Let's talk about training. The fact that those same courthouses are worked at, walk a little further up, you'll find Georgia Post. That's right. Peace officers, there's training standards, the standards of training. It's necessary to be able to not only have that permit, but also to be able to know how to use that firearm. And yet there is nothing in this bill that is stating that it's going to be necessary for people to even be able to know how to use that firearm. And that's really the tough part about this. Look, we know it's an election year. And so many here have been pressured. I mean, we're all here. We put up a big black fence around this place and you think you're secure. But you know good and well that there's law enforcement officers from our Georgia Capitol Police to those who are in our local communities. I wanted to highlight for you even today up here, unfortunately we're not showing them, but even 4 officers that we found even in 2021 who were unfortunately gunned down trying to serve the public. Our colleagues from the 171st District, the 31st, the 149th, and the 75th certainly have heard about Captain Justin Bedwell, certainly know the sacrifices of Sheriff Lena Marshall. They know Corporal Dylan Harrison, and certainly for those in Clayton County, know Officer Henry Laxon. I know for those residents who live with me in Henry County, we certainly know the sacrifice of Officer Paramans Desai. These are people who kiss their families, their wives goodbye, hug their children, get out here, and hopefully we can keep them safe by just asking for a small document, a paper, to be approved of by a constitutional officer, a judge who is sworn to the duty of protecting the public. We respected those constitutional officers here enough to give them a pay raise. But are we still so bold not to listen to the cries of those family members who have lost an officer that they lent to us as soon as they left after their house? And here today, there's a bill that the Georgia Sheriff's Association does not want us to pass. Here is a bill that the Georgia Association for the Chiefs of Police asks us not to go through with. And yet here today, are we really going to allow for an election to cause us to turn our backs on the men and the women who have come to us to try to protect our communities? I really don't think this is the time for us to take up these matters This is something that, if we're not going to table it, here's what I would suggest you do, because the public is not aware fully of what goes on here. If you believe that this measure is causing you to do as my colleague from the Warner Robins area suggested, that you're on the fence, this is probably a time where a local law enforcement officer who knows you, that you talk to, someone that you have long trusted for their opinion, this might be the time that they call you on your phone, and you will need to take that call to understand what their concerns are for this measure and how it will put their lives in jeopardy. So that's all here. I think we all are very clear about what's going to happen in this place. But I must say, I really wish God would be with the officers who come to their next traffic stop, because they have you to thank for the next actions from here. That's all.